Hey everybody, my name's Andrew, and this is my statement of ethics for SPTM 419. So I just wanted to start off by talking about, some of the ethical theories that we discussed early on in the class and, how I kind of got my moral values. So we talked a little bit about moral development and how, from a young age, kids learn, from their parents and while they're growing up, what is right from wrong. And I think that that's where I got a lot of my moral values. So I think my mom and dad, did a good job of teaching me to, always do the right thing, not even if it's for myself, but for also other people and, to always help people in need. And that's like an important value for me. I always try and help people whenever I can. I think this led me to both an altruistic mindset and more of an ethical egoism kind of mindset. So an altruistic mindset is basically that there are situations where we act in the interest of others, even when we sacrifice our own interests. And I feel like I do that a lot, not just with sports, but, sometimes I'll do things I don't want to do to, help other people when they need it. And ethical egoism mindset is, it's the recognition of like the normal state of human existence that people ought to act um, in their own self-interest. So I feel like a lot of the times, I will go out of the way to do things for myself, but I don't think it's because, I'm just doing it for myself because I'm selfish, but I'm doing it because, I need that. And that's just like a normal thing that humans do is they do things for themselves to try and take care of themselves. And I think that that's, perfectly normal. Moving on, I think that, one of the really interesting ethical dilemmas that we talked about in class was the concept of, what's cheating and what's fair play. We talked a little bit about gamesmanship, which is, when you do something that doesn't have an apparent advantage, but it is, giving you something. So that would be like, grabbing a jersey or kicking dirt in someone's face. Like it's technically part of the game, but it's not like really, part of the game in a way. Um, a personal experience that I have with cheating was when I played baseball as a kid. So I was around like 14, 15, 16. And uh, I was really small. Like I took a long time to really, grow up. So going to high school at like the age of 14, I was probably like 5'2", like maybe 100 pounds. Um, and I really struggled on the baseball field because, I wasn't big and I couldn't really get the bat over the plate as fast as some of the other people just because I was, so small and physically not gifted. But my dad went out and he bought me a -7 bat, which is not technically legal. But other players had, -7 bats. So he thought that it would help me because it's lighter than a regular bat, but it also has like the same hit power. So I could actually swing, hard and fast, just like the other kids. So technically it was cheating and just like kind of mentioning it makes me think back and like, do I really regret it? Yes and no. I mean, I do because I kind of wish I kept the integrity of the game at the time. I didn't really realize what I was doing. Um, but I also don't regret it because I had a lot of fun playing baseball growing up and I don't think it would have been fun had I not been able to like really participate. Well, I was able to participate, but not to the extent that I, was able to hit the ball and actually get on base a couple of times. Um, and this kind of situation, reminds me of the Lance Armstrong documentary that we talked about, the idea that, everyone's using it, so why can't I? Um, because I mentioned earlier that everyone else had those kind of bats and were using them to their advantage. So, why shouldn't I be able to? And some kids did get caught, and I never got caught using it because, whenever someone would get caught, I would go back to using a normal bat. But I just thought that that was, an interesting scenario to look back at and realize, what I did was wrong. But there are some cases where from the inside out, it it was very beneficial to, have that kind of advantage. Another ethical dilemma that we talked about in class that I thought was really interesting was the idea of load management in the NBA. I am not a fan of load management at all. I feel like the players, they're out there to do a job, to be an entertainer and compete. And when they're, sitting out for, their own reasons, whether it's to just rest or personal reasons, I think that they should be out there playing as much as possible. And, the they did talk about how, there's new rule changes um for the NBA with load management. So they changed it so the MVP, has to play 65 games or more to be able to win that award, or any player for any other award. And I really don't think that that's fair, because a player like Embiid could average a 40-point triple double hypothetically, and lose the MVP just because he doesn't play 65 games. Maybe he plays like 64, you know? So I don't really think that that's fair to that extent. And I think a better solution would probably be shortening the season, because every game means so much more. Like, you look at the NFL, they only have 17 games, so every game means more than the last. And, with regards to injuries, players are coming back as soon as possible, because they need to win every game in order to, make the playoffs and give themselves the best chance at winning a championship. And this kind of leads me into like my biggest role model in sport, which is Michael Jordan. I always, admired his mindset, that he always went out there and played every game that he could, because there was someone out there in the stands that bought a ticket to watch him. And I think that's kind of also where my mindset comes from, because um, he's always doing everything with 100% effort, not just for him, but for other people and to help other people. And that's something that I take to heart, and something that I mold myself after, because whether it's, going into a job interview or just playing a pickup game of basketball, I'm always there to put in my 100% effort and do the best that I can for my teammates, for my family, for whoever, but also for myself. And that's kind of where like the egoism comes in. Um, and the last thing, Michael Jordan's quote that I love is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So I try to be like a yes man and take any opportunities that I can, not for myself, also for other people, because you never know, where it's going to lead you someday. But that's all I have. That is my statement of ethics, and thanks for watching.